All right, Lenny, we are going.
Cool. Let's do it.
Just like back in the Marauders days in the dressing room. Easy
Yeah.
talk, easy
Easy
talk.
talk, man.
How are you?
Good, man. Good.
Thank you for coming. 4:30 on a Monday. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I'm
How,
it.
how
Yeah.
was work?
Work is busy. Happy to get out of there. Happy to be here. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the thing though. I remember I've been on a couple podcasts that weren't this one, and I enjoyed them a lot more. Being like talked to and ask people asking you questions and trying to figure out your life. I like it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
an
yeah.
enjoyable thing.
Yeah, I think that's it too because I definitely I mean for me and you it's just catch up too, right? Which is kind of cool. Like
Yeah.
it just kind of it's and I know I've seen a lot of guys that are on there too. Like a lot of guys that you've had on here and maybe just haven't talked to in a long time. So it's kind of
Yeah.
cool just to see. It's almost a little bit like I said to see you doing a little bit of catch up. It's kind of cool to be in the seat doing some catch up. So
I remember we had Clarky on the podcast, and this was back like probably before it was maybe like 150, maybe pushing 200 episodes, and it was back where I used to like really get nervous before the episodes. And I remember when Clarky came over, it was just there was no nerves. It was just
Yeah.
like, Clarky, what's going on?
Yeah.
Let's just say this is the exact same thing how I feel. Like
Yeah.
I just woke up from a nap like 30 minutes ago. I was like, Lenny's coming over. I
Yeah.
can't wait. It's gonna be great.
yeah, sweet.
So when I was talking to the Plumbers Golf guys, and they said you're the real deal at golf. And back when we played hockey together, I knew you golfed. But apparently the level of talent that you have is quite incredible. I know it's hard for you probably to go, yeah, you're right, I do. But I've heard you know the game very well, and I guess that's kind of what sparked me wanting to have you on here because I'm just getting into the game now.
Yeah.
And I'm addicted to it, I guess you could say. I'm broke. I spent a lot of money on the game of golf so far, and I'm addicted to it. So I guess the question is, when did you start playing the game of golf?
So I started playing. I mean, I was 10 years old for the first time that like I remember my old man took me and my older brother out, and I think we just had first time we ever went out. I think we just kind of just hit a ball here and there with his clubs, but then I think my old man got us some clubs, and we just both went out and played. A couple holes with him when he was playing, and we kind of just started to get into it. But then it was like right after that, I got pretty into it right away, and we played down in Muscatava at River Oaks, and my dad used to take us down Tuesday mornings, drop us off at 7:30 in the morning, and pick us up at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and we just golfed all day.
How old were you when this
Like
happened?
11 or 12. Like when I really became like a junior member, I would have been probably like 12, 11, 12. Yeah, I would. 10 is when I first started picking up the golf club. 11, 12 would have been when I actually had a junior membership and just went at it.
So when you're playing from, when did you say 8 a.m. till 10 p.m.?
Yeah, literally just like get to the golf course. The junior programs they ran on Tuesdays would probably be, a couple hours, just some little minor instruction, just kind of really just a little bit of babysitting probably too.
Yeah.
And then they would have some sort of go play 9 holes in a scramble format or whatever. And then you just go out and play 9 holes. But then everybody else would leave or their parents come and get them. And we would just continue on and play another 9 and then play another 18 after that. And there were some days I played 3 full rounds of golf. Nonstop.
So essentially, it was a summer camp, but the camp was just you playing golf nonstop.
Nonstop. Yeah, there would be multiple times, and then I might go down later on a Saturday and Sunday, maybe play with my mom or my dad or both, and then then my parents are split up, but then I would go down with my dad one Saturday, and then maybe down with my mom, my stepdad on Sunday.
Yeah.
And so I might play 3 rounds on Tuesday, and then play once on Saturday and once on Sunday as like I said 12, 13, 14. This went on all the way till I was a junior member there till I was 17. So I would just literally get dropped off on a Tuesday, play as much as I possibly could, maybe show back up on the weekend.
And it's interesting because all my buddies that play the game of golf and that are good, that are shooting under 90 around higher 80s, they've played their entire life since they were the age you're talking about. And it's unbelievable how I guess fundamentally sound they are when they're just approaching the green, and they're not worried to get the ball up on close to the pin. And when when I'm chipping in to try to get up on the green, there's definitely not anxiety, but there's like there's doubt. Can I do this? And just to see my friends go through it that have been playing their entire life and how easily they're able to do it like it's nothing, kind of makes me wish that I played at the age you're talking about.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I always, I'm not great at teaching the game. I'm good at kind of picking up like why things might not work for other people, or maybe some recommendations. I don't think I'm technical enough to be able to teach it. I've got a couple of good teaching buddies, but I play with a lot of people, and I can tell people what I did because I've never had a personal lesson ever. I have had kind of like the group lessons as juniors, but I was just always athletic, so I allowed myself to use my athleticism, and I would just try stuff that I saw other guys do a lot.
Yeah.
So like if I was playing with a guy who was like sick at chipping, like he might be 65 years old and I'm 15.
Yeah.
But this guy puts it within a couple of feet of the hole every time he's not on the green.
Yeah.
Okay, what's that guy doing different?
Yeah.
I'm gonna try, and I might even ask him. Like I wasn't shy as a kid either, so I would just kind of be like, hey, do you mind just showing me how you hold your club, or what club do you use to do that? And I would just like try stuff. So like that's what I did a lot, playing so much as a kid and with so many different people. Because again, if I go down there and play 3 times a day, I might have to link up with 3 old ladies to play my second round, right? But like I didn't care. I was just there to play golf, man. I didn't really care who I was there with, you know. So, but I think that's a lot of people. What they can do is just like a lot of people. I mean, you are, and a lot of guys you golf with, you're athletes, you're athletic. You can just use that. It's kind of hard to harness it sometimes if you're used to hockey or ball or whatever. But you kind of, if you play enough, you kind of get to. A lot of guys will figure it out too. So, that's just something myself. That's what I did. I just tried a bunch of different things, and I was lucky enough that I was always fairly athletic. So it was kind of, you know, it felt awkward for a little bit, but a lot of things I just picked up and was able to kind of run with it. So
that is one thing I will agree with, at least for myself as well, is every time someone gives me advice, I kind of let it brush off. I'm polite. I'm like, thanks, I appreciate that, thank you. But I don't think really anything has ever helped for anyone telling me what to do. It's always just been trial and error. You know, if I'm working on my driver and it's slicing, it's like, okay, well now I just have to go to the driving range and stay there for 3 hours and figure this out. It's my own mechanics. I don't know your body like you know your body. I only know my body like I know my body. I know my arms are a little bit longer than the average person, so it's only a mechanical thing with myself. But there's so many clubs in the bag, so it's like as soon as I figure out my driver, it's like, okay, great, and now I go back to my iron. It's like, I don't know my iron, but then I figure out my iron, and then I have to go back to my driver, and sometimes my driver isn't where I want it to be. So there's so many.
It's crazy, dude. I mean, really, you look at like there's millions of people around the world who play golf, and there's like golf swings like a snowflake, man. There's no 2 people who swing the same. There's no way. So like if you have a slice with your driver, there's not one specific fix to fix that. Somebody can't just be like, oh, do this. Exactly. And that only. Like I always tell people, like a golf swing is kind of like a car engine. If any little thing is off, it's not going to work, or it's not going to work properly. Same thing. Like like I said to a guy, I played golf yesterday morning with a buddy of mine, and I was like, do you understand how many things have to go right for you to hit a ball perfect? Like, okay, I want to hit a ball 160 yards at that flagstick, and you hit it in there to 5 feet. Do you know how many things you have to do right? How many things you have to calculate, the ground, the air, like the club you have, whatever. It's amazing how many things you have to calculate right to do it properly. It's insane. So there's going to be, you're going to hit more bad shots than good shots guaranteed, like, because you're not going to be able to hit it perfect. It's impossible. I shouldn't say it's impossible.
That's one thing I'm learning now is, okay, it's not about your last shot, it's about the shot coming up. Because I get frustrated if I definitely get frustrated easily when it comes to the game of golf, because I'm learning, and most of my life I've been a pretty somewhat good athlete, and I've been able to excel at whatever I'm doing. But golf, even if I think it's coming to me quickly, it's not. Yeah. I can't even explain it, to be honest.
Yeah, but you hit the nail on the head too. You have to look forward to the next one, because just because you chunk one, it only goes 5 feet. Just because you do that doesn't mean you're going to do anything wrong the next time. Like, it's totally different golf swing. It's like when you were playing hockey or lacrosse or whatever. Just because you had a bad shift doesn't mean the next one's going to be a bad shift. There's no science to that. It doesn't mean anything, right? Yeah. If you got if you're playing with one shoe on, then maybe there's a consistent factor that's going to make you not play lacrosse very well on the floor because you're not wearing a shoe, or you know what I mean? Like, but just because you had an awful turnover and somebody scores in hockey or something like that, send a guy on a breakaway and he scores, doesn't mean your next shift's going to be shit. That's not the way it works. The same thing in golf. Just because you hit an awful shot doesn't mean the next one's going to be awful. The next one you might hold out. Yeah,
but what if the next shot is awful and the next shot after that?
It can snowball. It can snowball. Yeah, but that's what it's the beauty of the game, man. If anybody had figured it out, they'd be, they wouldn't play anymore. But I don't. It's inconsistent, obviously. Like you're not going to play the same round of golf twice. You can't. It's never going to happen. You'll never hit the ball in the same place twice, or like every round. You'll never do that. So that can happen. They can pick up pretty quick, right? Yeah. They can snowball. You can hit a bunch of bad ones in a row, and I definitely don't have the fix on how to avoid that from happening. But
I like how you're saying, though, like I haven't really taken a lesson. I've always just learned my own mechanics, and then I went out and attacked. I do like that, because when I am on the golf course, I hear a lot of people giving other people advice, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure those people have some knowledge in the game, but I agree with what you're saying. It's just you have to figure out your own mechanics, and you have to be able to adapt to those mechanics. Almost like a free throw in basketball, how like guys have a routine. Yeah. I find myself having my own routine before I go up for a drive, for a putt, for my irons. I'm trying right now to figure out my own routine, because once I do have a routine, I think I'll be able to be a little bit more consistent with all my clubs.
That definitely helps with the setup for sure. You listen to anybody who's a teacher who's played a lot of golf, but who's played some competitive golf. You'd be hard pressed to find people who don't have some sort of routine. Like when I go and putt, I pretty well do the same thing every time for the past, I don't know, 10 years. I can't remember when I didn't putt the same way. You know what I mean?
For the past 10 years, you have the same routine?
I shouldn't say that necessarily. I mean, I've changed up my like grip and stroke and putters and stuff like that. But I guess like the way I approach like a putt that I'm going to try to make, it's pretty well been the same. Like I don't know, and that's me. That's where I've stuck to that. But not that everybody's been that way. But it definitely helps get into. And to be honest with you, like probably what a pretty decent part of my game is putting, and just because I think, I approach every single one the exact same way. Like, I don't think necessarily one's easier or harder than the last one, even though, if I'm 80 feet away or 5 feet away, of course, the 5-foot one's a hell of a lot easier. But I still try to take the same type of approach. I mean, you watch the guys on tour, too. They pretty well do the same thing. And I guess that's what a lot of things I did. I just watch on TV and, like I said, playing with other people who are really good and steal things from them and try it. And that's one thing, though, you'll hear from anybody who's done really well is routine is key. I mean, that's routine's key to probably getting your day going. I mean, you get up and take a piss, brush your teeth, take a shower, whatever. Like, I mean, that's routine, right?
Yeah. Have you seen the surge of golf in Nova Scotia since you've been here since you said 10 years old you've been playing?
Yeah.
So, me coming into my first year, I don't really see the bang. I just, I'd go out and I play. But
yeah,
a guy you've played, have you seen it?
It's crazy how many people, obviously within the past couple of years, who've been involved. And I remember like when I was in like high school and stuff like that, there wasn't a whole lot of my buddies who played golf. Yeah. And it was kind of like, it wasn't like a nerdy sport or anything, but it wasn't really like it wasn't the cool sport that all the guys played. It was, guys played ball or they played hockey and that was kind of it, right? But golf was something I did. But I knew even then, I guess a lot of the guys that I play with, like I said, I play with anybody. Most people would always tell me, oh yeah, I didn't pick it up until I was in my 30s or whatever. I mean, and that's a lot of people now who are in their 20s and 30s that I know that I've played hockey with or other sports who are just picking it up.
Yeah.
But it's crazy how many people are involved right now with golf. I'm really, really close with our assistant GM at our golf course, and like they have more people who want to golf than they have spots for the golf. I said it's like almost like going to the airport and trying to get on a plane. There's 150 seats, but you got 175 people there looking to get on the plane. I mean, 25 people ain't getting out. Like that's what's happening at golf courses right now is people are wanting to play and they can't.
Tee time.
And they can't get out. Yeah, which is. I mean, it sucks for those individuals, obviously. I mean, it's happened to me once this year. I pretty well play pretty well every Sunday morning, and there was one Sunday morning we just couldn't get a tee time. It got flooded, and we couldn't get out. And
brutal.
Yeah, but it was luck. We were lucky enough that it was the holiday Monday, so I was able to,
There you go.
You kind of smooth it in there with the wife. I'm like, hey, I'm going to be home Sunday, but I'm going to play golf Monday morning.
Yeah, that's another thing, too. Like, I'm trying to figure out with my girlfriend. It's like, I've been playing so much.
Yeah.
It's like, I got to figure it out with her.
It's a balancing act, man.
Like, I'm trying right now to figure out, okay, listen, Sarah, I'm going to go golfing, today, tomorrow, maybe the next day after. Is there anything that I can do? And I'm figuring out, like, okay, what should I be doing around the house? Like, I'm cleaning the dishes. I'm like, do you need me to do? I can do the floors. Do you need me to do anything? I'll clean the tub. Sure, you let me know.
Yeah.
So I'm just like trying to figure out the things around the house that gives me free time for like 4 hours out of the day.
Yeah. For me too. Like God bless my wife. She's been pretty good with. I shouldn't. I'm not saying letting me play golf because that doesn't seem like a good relationship. But that's what I want to say off the top of my head. But that's not what it's not letting me play golf. But it's obviously it's a compromise. So I'd love to play golf every day.
Oh, me too.
But right now I play every Wednesday afternoon and every Sunday morning, and she knows that. It's not like it's like, if she wants to do something else or has a suggestion that we should do something else, then that's fine. I have no problem catering to that. Okay, yeah, maybe I won't golf today. Maybe I'll do this instead.
Yeah.
But for the most part, she's kind of been in agreement with that routine. But I mean, like I said, we get 2 kids, 3.5-year-old and a 14-month-old. Like. It's not so much. It's time. She obviously wants me to spend time with the kids too, and I obviously love spending time with the kids and her as well. But it's also sometimes she needs a bit of some time that she's not looking after 2 kids by herself. I kind of want to limit that as much as I can. It's a lot with. They are just crazy rambunctious kids. So having some when she's sometimes I come home from golf and I can see her hair is just all in a mess. I know she's had a crazy morning and I just played sick on the golf course and I can't tell her about it because she really doesn't care.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What you got to do is you got to get the kids involved in golf. You take them
I can't wait.
You.
Yeah, my little guy's pretty athletic too, so I can't wait to get him involved. And he's a lefty out of nowhere. So I don't know how he picked that up. But he's a lefty, so I got to get him. My mom bought him clubs already, so he's got clubs. He kind of chips balls around the backyard in the summertime. So when when he's allowed to, and like I said, one of my best buddies who's the assistant GM at our golf course, his daughter's only 5 weeks older than my little guy, so we're pretty close. Spend a lot of time together when we can. Yeah. Recently hasn't been a whole lot, but there'll be nights, obviously, that me and him will go out and grab a couple of golf carts, take the kids out, and just kind of whack some balls around. Hopefully that's in the near future here, but there's not a lot of free time, obviously, but yeah, no, it'll be good to get them involved. I want my little guy, if he wants to get involved, of course,
Yeah.
in golf, to get involved as soon as possible, because I just seen how beneficial it was for me, and I fell in love with it right away.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, you can look on YouTube and find a million 8-year-olds right now who look like the professionals because they fell in love with it super early. They just wanted to golf, and like you can pick things up really quickly, and they can be, things can boom. I mean, there's some guys making some pretty serious money playing golf right now.
Have you seen that documentary on Netflix, The Short Game?
I haven't watched it. No, I haven't watched it, but I seen the title on it. Yeah.
Pretty incredible. These kids are 8 years old from all around the world. They go to Georgia and they play in a tournament, and it's quite incredible how their parents invest. It's almost like hockey. They invest a lot of money into these kids to be able to be trained on how to be a professional golfer, and the way some of these kids act, the way they carry themselves, it's almost like a mini tiger just walking around the course. It's kind of weird, but it's quite incredible how there's kids playing golf all around the world right now. It might have been that way forever. I don't know. But there's a kid from Zimbabwe playing golf coming over to Georgia, and he's competing with a kid that grew up in Los Angeles, and they're almost tied. Like, it's just incredible.
It's crazy to think of just, I guess meshing kids, people in general, but kids from all around the world into, like, I mean, as competitive as it can get really at 8 years old. I mean, there's a lot of people who want to get their kids involved, and there's probably some of those crazy hockey parents or crazy golf parents too. I mean, everybody said the stories about Tiger's dad and how crazy he was.
Did you watch that documentary?
Yeah. Yeah. So everybody knows how crazy Tiger's dad was, but I mean, it worked out for him, and and everybody says that Sid's dad. They always said that Troy was kind of a bit of a nutbar too, but I mean. But I guess that's just. But it certainly worked. Now there's obviously a bunch of growing up. There's always some kids' parents that you probably played with too, thought their kid was Jesus, and they weren't.
Yeah.
but there. I mean, you invest your time into your kids as long as it's for them and not you. I mean, I think that exists, and I certainly want that to exist for golf. But if my kid doesn't want to play golf, doesn't want to play hockey at some point, then that's fine too.
Yeah.
He knows a shit ton about dinosaurs, so he'll be fine.
Man, dinosaurs are pretty sick.
I'm telling you, it's crazy how much this 3-year-old knows about dinosaurs. He knows like 100 different dinosaurs.
Give me a fact about a dinosaur. Do you know one that he taught you?
He can identify them. I have a 10-minute video on my phone of me just Googling dinosaurs, and not easy ones. Like, I'll pick one up and be like, okay, Fletcher, what's this one? He's like, that's a Truodon. Have you ever heard of a Truodon?
Fletcher's a sick name, by the way.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever heard of a Truodon? No, you haven't, because no one even knew they existed until my 3-year-old found that this dinosaur existed. They can see in the night like an owl. So, yeah, that's a fact that he was able to teach me from his book. So
there's a part of me that really wants kids, and there's a part of me that doesn't. Like, that sounds great. That sounds like a great little.
I've always told people like 95% of my life with the kids is like hilarity, and then there's like there's 5% of it is like nonstop crying and whining, and then the other 5% is they're sleeping. So the most of it's good. Most of it's good. It's a lot of fun. And like I said, the two kids I get are rambunctious, but they're super goofy, which is hilarious. Sometimes they do stuff, and I'm sitting there laughing, and my wife's kind of like, just don't laugh. Don't laugh.
Don't encourage you.
Yeah.
Is it harder to become a professional hockey player or a professional golfer?
That is a good question. I can tell you this, that there is, I'm going to say it's probably harder to become a professional. There's so many different levels to both. Like, you can be a pro hockey player in Europe, right? And, I mean, I know guys and play with guys, and guys who've played some level of pro that maybe you thought would or thought wouldn't, that might make it, that did. But for golf, it's funny. There's some guys that I've played some golf with, or who've grown up here and played some golf, and they'll go out and see them on Instagram, and they played Oakfield and shot 65. Well, actually, I'll give you a story. So Eric Banks, I saw something so Eric Banks is from Truro. I saw something posted by Antigonish Golf Course that in a week he shot 64 on Monday, 66 on like Wednesday, and then later on in the week he shot 63. So he shot 64, 66, 63. That's a par 71 course. And he didn't make a bogey all week. Didn't make a bogey.
What's this guy's name, sir?
Eric Banks. So Banks turned pro, and that guy never made it. Like he might have played on like whatever the like mini tours were, but he didn't make it to the PGA. He didn't make it to the Corn Ferry, which is just below that. Like, that guy's sick, ridiculous golfer, and he didn't make it. You know what I mean? Like, this guy he played 3 rounds in a week, didn't have a bogey, shot umpteen under, and that's not good enough.
So what do you have to like? So what do you have to do in order to become a pro? Do you have to enter a tournament and get a
So
certain?
so guys obviously get their chances through probably through like college golf and stuff like that. Through the states and stuff, and really I guess amateur golf so I've played in a couple of fairly larger amateur tournaments. So if you do well in your provincial tournaments, you qualify for national tournaments, right? So I've played in a couple of Canadian amateurs and Canadian mid-ams. But in those tournaments, it's not necessarily only Canadians too. Like one year I played in BC, and Corey Connors, who's doing really well, obviously on the PGA Tour right now, he lost in a playoff to a guy, and that guy is now just playing. He still plays on the Corn Ferry Tour, so he still makes some half decent money playing professional golf. But there's guys from Colombia and guys from Mexico and all over the place at the Canadian Am. And if you win the Canadian Am, you win an entry spot into the RBC. There's an RBC tournament that's played in Canada every year. You kind of qualify for the next year or whatever. So guys get a first crack at a pro tournament. I mean, you go and you play with Dustin Johnson. You just won the Canadian Amateur 1 year, and the next year you go and you're teeing it up with last year's winner. So in that guy's case, he was playing with, I think he teed it up with Dustin Johnson in his first pro tournament ever. So here you are, you're playing in the same tournament as me, and then a year later you're playing in the same tournament as Dustin Johnson. Like it's crazy how many people are kind of in that gap, I guess, between Dustin Johnson and me, and the amount of golfers that are in there that are better than me but not as good as that. It's insane how many people exist all over the world.
I'm trying to compare that to hockey right now to think of all the guys in the AHL who are just a step away from playing in the NHL.
Yeah.
But it's just because you and I both know the guy on the NHL who's on the third, fourth line. Any guy on the first and second line in the A may be able to play on the third line in the NHL.
Right.
That's a thing. We both know that. So it's an interesting comparison to think, how many guys are from DJ to me and in between in that comparison. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if you had a guy, say you had like an 18-year-old go out and score 200 points in the queue, you'd be like, that guy's going to be an unbelievable NHL hockey player. But maybe like
Lafreniere.
Yeah, but maybe it just doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, I mean that does happen at different levels too. I mean, there's lots of people have to be willing to spend a lot of money on golf to do it too. Like I just read something. This Mike Visacki guy who Monday qualified a couple weeks ago for a PGA tournament. And I can't remember which one it was. And then he played in this past weekend's Charles Schwab tournament, and he missed the cut. But then Justin Thomas actually cut him a check out of his own pocket to help him still pay because when I say pay, like he's entering tournaments, he might be paying maybe the entry fee is $2,000, and the next tournament's in Dallas, Texas.
I saw his video. We slipped him a check.
Yeah, so he's basically now going to pay for his own travel, his own this stuff isn't just given to him. He doesn't have any sponsors, but he's a guy trying to make it. So he's got to spend his own money or get people to sponsor him somehow. So he might be sponsored by an ice cream shack in his hometown of whatever. So you've got to have people to give you money. So I think that's probably it too. Is being good enough that people will give you money to try to chase your dream, or being lucky enough that you've got people who can help you on your side and I mean that's like with any sport too. I think if you're lucky enough to have a family that can provide lots of things for you, then you probably have a bit of a step up. But if you're that good, people will find you anyways. I mean that's what kind of happens. I think guys come out of nowhere with golf. There's always stories about kids playing with a set of clubs, and no two clubs are the same, but they were just they were a caddy at a golf course and went out one day and they were ridiculous. And I mean that happens. But I think that's I don't know, man. That's golf. It's hard to make.
I still can't believe what you said about that Banks guy shooting those scores and still not make it. Like that's
crazy. So I played there last year with a buddy of mine, and I played really well. And I think I ended up shooting 68. So I'd have been 3 under that day I played. And if anytime I go and play golf, from a regular day, like my goal is to no matter where I play, my goal is to break par. Now some courses that might be realistic, some might not be. My own course might be a couple better than par, whatever, right? Some courses are easier than others, is what it is. But when I show up, that's kind of I'm playing to the par. So I had a good day and I was 3 under par. But I made some mistakes, and I might have made like a 50-foot putt, or I might have chipped in, or I might have bounced off a tree and came back into play. But I just think for that guy to play 3 rounds in a week and not make a bogey, he obviously couldn't have been relying on many bounces. He must have been hitting it that good that he didn't have to rely on any bad breaks happening to him. Or if they did, he got lucky a couple times. But it's crazy, yeah, to think of a guy who did that in a week, and he's an amazing. And I'll admit, he's if me and him play 10 times for money, he's beaten me 10 times out of 10 at any golf course in the province.
Wow.
But and that guy's just not making it. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
I'm listening to that, and that's frustrating.
Yeah.
Like that level of good.
Yeah, that level of yeah. And I think he's still a professional. And and he might be playing on. And I know lots of guys who've played on, like, I don't know if it's the Mackenzie Tour now or whatever it was, but guys who've played on like a Canadian tour, and you win a tournament, you might win. Maybe those guys win $100,000. I don't even know what they actually make, but how many tournaments do you miss the cut and make no money? You make the cut, maybe you make $2,500, but you've just spent $2,500 to enter the tournament. Then had to fly to Mississauga and stay in a hotel for 6 days and buy all your own food and rent a car and whatever. So there's a lot of spending that goes on to try to make it. So if guys don't win, they kind of, I don't want to say they fizzle out because it makes them seem like they fail, because they definitely don't fail. I mean, they're ridiculously good at this game, but it's just it's you've got to be fortuitous, but and super good. And like, I guess the level of good, until you actually see like a PGA Tour pro like stand on a driving range and hit 8 6-irons in a row and they land on top of each other, you don't really realize how good those guys are.
Is that what it is? Do you think that's the key to success with golf? Is just repetition,
It's gotta
obsessiveness?
For the most part, I mean, yeah, there's ways. I mean, obviously, all these guys who do really well have all their personal coaches, and now, I mean, guys taking care of their bodies and stuff has been a huge aspect, of course, but I think that's kind of it. And it's obviously practicing the right thing too, right? There's probably a lot of people who go out and practice and maybe not practice the right thing. Like, it's funny, man, you might not believe it, but I haven't hit a range ball in 2 years. Like,
really,
it's just like, I shouldn't say that. This year before the golf courses were open, I mean, I hit a couple balls, but once I'm playing golf, I don't even bother. Like, I'll warm up by swinging hard a couple times before I tee off, but like, I don't really, and the reason why I don't really hit balls is because I don't really know what I'm practicing for the most part. I know it sounds crazy to somebody who's just kind of getting into it, but like, for me, I don't do the same thing all the time. I kind of adapt to the game a little bit, I guess. Like, say I'm out there and I'm hitting the ball and I'm driving it right, then I'll just change something. And I have a good buddy I play a ton of golf with, and he can't do that. And he says that to me. He's like, how could you just like throw a Band-Aid on it for a day and then still shoot the same score? It's like, I don't really know how to explain that, but I think because I haven't really practiced one thing a ton, I'm kind of willing to abandon something after a few if it's not working. Yeah. Like I said, if I'm slicing the ball in the woods, and okay, whatever that is, it's not working. Let's do something completely different, and go with that and roll with that for a bit.
I know I'm not trying to play like story versus story here, but I know exactly what you're talking about when it relates to lacrosse and the ball coming out of when I'm shooting a ball. If you look at all those strings to your left there, each one of those strings kind of represents a different, I guess you could say, shooting pattern or aim. If you release the ball high, it goes a certain way. If you release the ball low, it goes a certain way. And I've been playing lacrosse, say, 10 years since I was 10 years old, and there's things that I can do with that stick that maybe a guy just like picking the game up this year can't do. And I know exactly the feel for every single stick that I have, and for the way you're explaining golf right now and how you can make a quick adjustment, put a Band-Aid on it, and then work on something else. I know exactly what you mean, but in that relation to lacrosse.
Exactly, because like, it's funny that you say that, because like, I've never played lacrosse. I mean, I've kind of tossed a ball around or shot it at a net or whatever, and that's pretty well it. So like, I know how to get, I know how to pick a ball up and I know how to release it. But am I going to be able to pick a spot to put it? No. But, I can do kind of a very basic thing, and that's probably it. But if I start to, say I'm shooting a ball at a net and I keep throwing it over the top of the net, do I know how to fix that? Not really. Like, I haven't practiced that at all.
Yeah.
If you practice that, you might get it. But I had to go back to practicing. Like, repetition makes things happen. But, again, you got to be practicing the right thing. And I don't consciously make the decision not to practice because I don't want to practice the wrong thing. It's just, I don't feel like I really have something that I'm, I don't know how to put it, like that I don't have like a type of golf swing or whatever that I'm married to that I want to practice, that I want to be the exact same every time. I'm willing to kind of switch things up some. So, I'll go up, if I go up and hit a bucket of balls, I'm just going to do whatever. I might hit and I tried a lot of things. So I've hit the ball like 2 feet off the ground. I've hit them super high. I've hit them right to left, left to right, and whatever. So I'll play around and do that stuff. And at the end of it, I haven't really practiced anything consistently. I've just done some weird stuff but then again, like I said, sometimes it comes into play on the golf course. You got to go under some branches. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I guess I When I was farting around and just hitting the ball as low as I could off that driving range mat, they kind of, but like I said, but to go, I guess, to, kind of getting away from it a bit, but to go back to the repetition thing, I think that is super key. Anybody who plays golf to a degree, I mean, I know a lot of people who are retired or played a bunch of golf who haven't gotten any better, but if you just keep playing and playing and playing or hitting balls, you're going to get better as long as they are improvements.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's it. And there's a lot of people who just don't really care to improve. They just love the game of golf, like being outside, like the atmosphere, the buddies they play with, whatever. They're just happy to be out there. But the people who are trying to get better, as long as you're practicing things that actually get you better.
That's the balance I'm in between right now. It's like, yeah, I'm trying to get better, but at what expense? Like I'm spending a lot of time away from the house. I'm spending a lot of money. I'm spending a lot of. It's like you're not ever going to be pro, Justin. I know that, but why are you going out? Why are you practicing? Why are you trying to get better? And it comes back to just you have the same competitive nature I do. We're athletes. We just want to get better.
Yeah.
It's just ingrained in us.
Yeah, but it can't happen all at once, which is crazy. You want it to happen so quickly because there's been lots of things that you've probably picked up. Same as myself, you picked up and got pretty decent at fairly quickly, but you kind of forget maybe how long that period of time was. Like I would tell you right now that if I picked up a lacrosse stick, I'd want to be good at it right away. That's just my nature. I want to be good at it, but I'm not. It's funny. Like I won't go and play tennis because I can't figure it out quickly. Yeah. I'm done. And I got some buddies who are like golfers who are pretty decent tennis players. Like I wouldn't dare go out and play with them because I would just get so frustrated that I can't be good at it right away. Yeah. So I mean that happens. But if I went out and played, 15 matches of tennis and just screwed around, and then this year and then did the same thing next year, well, maybe 5 years from now I could actually hang and play a little bit of tennis. Yeah. But I'm never going to figure all that out all in 1 year. And that's kind of the same thing with golf. Like, you can spend a bunch of time at it, like, right away. But I think it's probably going to take, really, I mean, not to put a damper on it, but it's probably going to take a couple of years before you really see a significant difference.
Well, that's the way I look at it right now. I see myself playing golf until I'm dead, really.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go to Golf Town. I'm going to buy some clubs. I'm going to invest my time. I'm going to invest my money because I see myself playing until, like I said, I'm old and retired. So it's like, why not spend the time to get good now, to get somewhat better? So by the time, you're 40, 50, 60, however old I get, just to be able to, to not get as frustrated as I'm getting right now. But, but it still doesn't replace, like, I love it so much, I'm willing to go and get frustrated. That's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a good way to put it, yeah. Yeah, I know. I totally do get that. And there's few things like that where where you want to go, like, that it's gonna. You've gone out to do something that is gonna get. It's almost like going out, like you're gonna go to the liquor store on a Saturday afternoon, and the restrictions. There's gonna be a lineup out there. You're gonna be waiting outside for 20 minutes. It's like, like you're willing to go face that frustration for a little bit to go and do something. It's kind of this, a strange analogy, but I mean, golf's one of those few things like that where you're willing to, okay, I'm going to go frustrate myself for a little bit. But what's great is I play a ton of golf with a guy who's 72, 73, and he breaks 80 often. He shoots 85 often too, but he breaks 80 often. And he plays from the senior tees now, but he always will tell me, like, he didn't pick up golf until he's 46 years old.
Wow.
I mean, he would have been, I don't know that he shot his age, but like when he would have been probably like 66 to 68 years old, like I remember playing with him one day, probably 5-6 years ago, whatever it was, that he shot 1 under par. I played with him when he shot 1 under par at our golf course. So he might have been 68 and he shot 71.
Wow.
So, but again, he didn't pick it up until he was 46 years old.
What made him want to pick it up? Do you know?
I think he, if I'm not mistaken, I think he worked with Irving, and I think he had told me, and I could be totally wrong, but I think he told me it was just corporate tournaments.
Okay,
they
cool.
kind of done, which is really common, and they did a couple corporate tournaments, and he might have gone and done the same tournament 3 years in a row, and he maybe after the second year, he was kind of like, I know that tournament's coming up in September. I kind of, I kind of like to just be a little bit better than I was before. Maybe that's what it was, where he bought his own clubs and kind of got involved with it and stuff like that. And then once he retired, he played a bunch and was able to kind of get into it and got pretty precise. And it's kind of cool to see a guy like that, like doesn't hit the ball very far, but super straight, pretty good putter, has his own little quirks that he's good at and things like that. And it's kind of funny to see how many different ways it can be played. But yeah, so I guess my point is that for somebody like me who picked it up when I was 10 years old, and a guy like him who picked it up at 46, I mean, you can kind of get to a similar place. I don't want to say the same place, but a very similar place. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he and I could easily go out and play golf tomorrow, and he could beat me. You know what I mean? Like that's the way golf is.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, I guess, picking up in your 20s, late 20s or whatever. It's not really that. It's not late. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not early. I mean, I think I've been fortunate enough to pick it up when I was 10 years old, but it's not, picking up in your 20s or 30s is not late, really.
It's a man's game.
Yeah.
You know what I think?
Yeah.
It's good leisure sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
You think of the best golfers in the world. How old are they? Mid-30s,
They're
40s?
probably it's funny now. I mean, there's such a range of how many good golfers there are. It's amazing how good guys are getting young in golf right now, which I don't really know how to figure that out. I think
It wasn't like that before.
No, I think Tiger was an exception, but when he was like in Tiger's heyday, he played against. I remember like when he would have been playing against like Phil and Ernie Els and Vijay Singh and those guys. They would have been like
VJs.
Those guys would have probably like when Tiger was like say 22, whatever. Those guys would have been in the 30s, and those guys would have been the best in the world at the time, right? And then Jim Furyk and guys like that. I'm just thinking of guys that he would have played against and would have, if Tiger didn't win, who did win? It would have been some of those guys.
Yeah. Mike Weir.
Yeah, but all those guys are now in their in their 50s and 60s
On the senior tour.
Yeah, I mean like Phil Mickelson qualifies for the senior tour. He's 51 years old. But yeah, those, I guess Tiger's in his 40s. I'm not exactly sure how old he is, but yeah, like I know that like the guys like Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth, and there's so many guys who are winning right now. They're like 21, 22, consistently competing in pro events. It's just crazy to me that you can, even if you started golf at 5 years old or whatever, to be able to get to that point where you're now the best in the world, potentially like one of the best golfers in the world at 22 is just crazy.
That when you're talking about the age getting younger and younger, I think that's extremely exciting for the marketing ability for golf. When you look at the NBA and you look at how guys are dressing, their attitude, how cool it is to dunk a ball in a net. It's a very marketable sport. Poor kids can play it across the world.
Yeah.
I think the exact same thing for golf. As long as the players are getting younger, they have somewhat of a personality and they're able to market the sport to a broader audience. I think the sky's the limit for golf, especially right now in today's generation where it's everything's welcome. You don't have to be a white preppy kid to play golf. You can be any color, you can be any race, you can be from any part of the world to play. I think golf is it's just waiting to explode.
Yeah.
I think even if it hasn't already exploded, I just think it's going to.
Definitely. I think I've noticed probably in the past few years, especially at our course last year was a pretty that we had kind of one of the there's a decent portion of our membership that's there's probably I don't know maybe 25 black members at our golf course, and they kind of got together and they had this kind of mentorship thing where they brought they'd have one older member and then have like a younger I don't want to say kid because they weren't kids, but they might have been in their 30s, might have been in their 20s, whatever.
Yeah.
But almost like a mentorship thing. So like I guess did a push for some inclusivity within golf, and cool. I think because that's happening all over the place too. But you're right. It's they're trying to make it because golf's such an easy game to get. I mean, the amount of people who've gotten excited about it, it's an easy game to get excited about and to play. I mean, it's expensive for the most part, like to go into a place and play golf and to own golf clubs and stuff like that. It's expensive and it's time consuming, but it always was. I mean, you look back at the old school, video camera or whatever. It was all white men dressed to the nines. Like that was, if you weren't a white man and you couldn't dress properly, you couldn't play golf. And I think they've done a great job all over the place. And I'm happy to see it at my golf course that we're making sure that we're as far away from that as we possibly can be.
Yeah.
And I assume that's happening all over the place. Like you said, all over the world. I mean, that's why there's so many good golfers from everywhere. It's like you said, it doesn't matter what country you're at. I mean, right now like in the LPGA tour, there's a million Korean girls who are unbelievable. I mean, it's that's kind of where most of the talent and it's not one dominating. There's like 5 or 6 of them that could win any tournament, and Brooke Henderson from Canada, and then there's always been a lot of girls from the States. And anyways, it happens. I guess in every level of golf, whatever the men's golf, women's golf, whatever, college golf, there's people from everywhere.
Sick.
Yeah, there's people from everywhere. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. It is cool.
Yeah,
it's an addicting sport, man.
It is. It's super addicting. And it's a lot. And some people just don't get it and can't stand it, and that's fine. Not everybody likes the same things. I mean, that's it. But the amount of people who probably said like I would never be able to play golf, and they go out and they whack a ball around a little bit. I don't know. You're just chasing something all the time, right? You're chasing that. You're just like, no matter what you do, you're just like, I can get better at that. I can do that better. I know I can do that better.
I'm in here putting right before you got here.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I can work on my putting a little bit. I can work on my stance. Maybe my hands should be a bit lower. You know, my hands were lower on a hockey stick.
And I'm
maybe,
telling you,
know,
man, try it all. Try it all. I mean, that's it. Sometimes it comes naturally to people, and I still think that I play beer league. I'll play pickup hockey, and I'll play with guys, and I'll just see how guys still like release a puck and whatever. And I'm still thinking like, how come I can't?
Yeah.
I've been playing hockey a long time. Like, how come I can't figure out how to do that? And I can't. I just can't figure it out. But to some people, it comes easy. But I try lots of things. I just still haven't gotten there. But with golf, that's what I tell people. Just try things as much as possible and be uncomfortable for a little bit. You got to be willing to be uncomfortable for a little bit. It's not.
Yeah, that's what hockey's done for I think both of us. Hockey makes you uncomfortable. It puts you in situations where there's pressure on you.
Yeah.
I think that's why maybe a little bit of this pressure that I'm putting on myself in relations to golf. I'm comfortable with it. Okay, you know you're not going to do well. Maybe this hole you're in the sand trap. Maybe you know you're not going to get it close to the pin. That's okay.
Yeah.
Just the shot after.
It's almost like
fine.
playing a really good team. Like, you know, your team's not as good as their team, but maybe if we play well enough, we can beat them, kind of thing.
And, and another thing is the individual aspect of it. I've been on a team sport my whole life.
Yeah, and that's it. You have nobody else you have to rely on.
Yeah.
Like, just, you know, what's great too is that when you play golf, it's you against the golf course, which is kind of cool too. So you can kind of almost set your own goals and your own rules and kind of measure. You can find a way to measure yourself. You know what I mean? And that's why golf's cool that way because. Like I said, there's lots of individual sports, but very few of them are kind of, you know, you go in like tennis is an individual sport, but you go and you're playing it against one other person.
Yeah.
Right. You're not, you know, if tennis was you standing up against a board and hitting against the board, then that would just be against the board. But so golf is against the golf course. But then once you're done with that one shot, you don't have to hit that shot again. Now you're hitting a different shot, and you're never going to face that same shot the whole way around your round of golf. Like you have 18 tee shots. Yeah, you might hit your driver a number of times, but you're never trying to hit it down the exact same golf hole twice, even, right? So it's really, I guess there's something really nice about not having. No matter how many shots, you can take 140 shots when you play. Yeah. You're not going to hit the exact same one twice.
And with that being said, I really find the position of a caddy to be an interesting character, an interesting person. It's like, okay, if you're a caddy and you're telling this professional golfer what to do, why aren't you a pro? What makes you so special that you can tell a pro golfer? And what characteristics are so important to that pro golfer that makes you go walk 18 holes with them? What is it about a caddy that makes them so special?
That's amazing. It's funny, man. I got to give my mom a plug here. So my mom has caddied for me at tournaments since I was like 15.
No way.
And she's missed a few. Like, I mean, she's flown to Toronto to caddy for me.
You've been in Toronto to play golf?
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. So she flew to Toronto. She came to Ottawa. My dad actually came when my mom couldn't go. My dad came to BC with me one time. My mom came the last time we went to BC. So I guess I've done 4 ones where I've traveled. So I've been to BC twice in Toronto and Ottawa. And the last time we stayed, there's a handful of guys from Nova Scotia went, and a guy booked a house. It was a sick house, like a mansion of a house.
Yeah.
10 of us in there, 9 guys and my mom. And she wasn't out of place. Like she's always been a jock her whole life, so she wasn't out of place.
Yeah.
But, you know, she loved to cook. She wanted to cook the meals and hang out. And, you know, one night we're throwing some R&B on the TV and dancing away, and mom's half a bottle of wine deep, and everybody's anyways, but yeah, my mom's been so for me, the aspect with my mom, it's funny you ask about caddies, because so for my mom, I'm just super comfortable with my mom. She's probably been, you know, she's been one of my, like, almost like a best friend. Just though I could always talk to her about stuff and hang out.
Should have brought her.
I know, yeah.
Oh well, next time.
Yeah, she's probably putting bad people away right now. but yeah, no, she's so for me, it's just she's always somebody that I can that keeps me kind of loose. She golfs, so she knows golf enough. She kind of gets it. She's definitely, one of the best parts of her game is putting. So kind of sometimes when you need a little bit of help, where you can't really see what's happening, it's not a judgment thing necessarily. I mean, putting is, I guess, judgment, but like it may be me and you get to the same golf ball 100 yards from the green. We might play it a totally different way.
Okay.
So I don't necessarily want her. She might play that shot totally different than me. So I don't really want her input necessarily on how to do that shot.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe we get to the green, I just can't figure out which way this putt breaks, and maybe she sees it right away. And those are the type of helpful hints she can give.
Yeah.
She's also too that if I get a little frustrated, she just brushes it off. And I'll get frustrated, but I've been pretty good. I've been really good at being able to get away from. I'll be frustrated for that moment and get rid of it.
Yeah.
Like I haven't had, as a kid, I think everybody can get a little hot and get frustrated and throw a club or throw a bit of a tantrum. I mean,
You've never had that?
Oh, I definitely have. I definitely have grown out of that. I remember playing in one tournament and a guy slammed his putter and broke something in his bag, and it's funny, we walked to the next hole and he was still collecting his things, and he had a caddy there, and he then tossed like the broken club on the ground and then walked away. And my mom pulled me over and she's like, if you ever do something like that, I'll never caddy for you again. And I was like, totally agree. Like he was embarrassing, right? So I was like, I'll never embarrass my mother like that, or anybody. I mean, if you were caddying for me, I still would never break a club and chuck it on the ground, be like, hey, go get my broken shit and bring it to me. No.
So the kid made the caddy go get his shit that he broke?
He basically swung his, I think he like 5-putted a green. And he's playing really good. He 5-putted a green. He swung at his putter at his bag. And I don't know if he broke the putter or the bag itself. He might have broke the bag. And he's knocked it over and kind of yard sailed the bag and whatever. Just, tossed the club down on the bag or whatever. I don't want to say he like threw it down, like pick my stuff up necessarily, but he was kind of like, chucked his putter down, move on to the next one, like kind of meet me at the tee box kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was just a little bit over the top. But I guess to answer your question about the caddies, I mean, I think on the pro level, they want obviously somebody they can get along with and kind of, I think, want to be able to, if guys want to stay loose. There's probably guys who want to just stay super focused and have a caddy who basically almost minds their own business a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys are using family members of some sort.
I like that.
It's funny, like Henrik Stenson, I think, uses his wife as his caddy. Dustin Johnson's brother is his caddy. So there's guys who, and I think
Phil Mickelson, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, Phil Mickelson. Yeah. He just won. His brother was his caddy when he won. So like guys use some family members and stuff. So like for the same reason that now those guys obviously put in a lot of work. Caddies go out before tournaments and they pace off things. Now it's funny because now they're allowed to use rangefinders that are like for the first tournament 2 weeks ago.
Is that the like?
Yeah, so they're allowed to do which is good because it saves time for sure. But it used to be like a guy would go out, he's pacing it. Okay, from the tee box to that rock over there. From the front of this tee box to that rock is 236 yards. And then from that rock to the middle of that green or front of that green is 197 yards. So then they're in the middle of the fairway and he paces off that rock and so they kind of been doing the math.
Yeah.
They've basically pre-planned some stuff and then they do the math from there. So that's what caddies do a lot of, obviously. And that definitely doesn't happen on the amateur level at all. And there's I would say even on the professional level, on the Corn Ferry Tour just below the PGA, there's a lot of those guys who, when the tournament was hosted, that one at Ashburn here, there's guys who showed up and didn't have a caddy, so just people would you could sign up and be a caddy. So really, your job is just to kind of cater to them for the day.
Just like Happy Gilmore when the homeless guy walked. Yeah,
that's exactly it. You just somebody to carry your clubs, so you don't have to get tired carrying your clubs.
Yeah,
and just do kind of some minor stuff, clean my golf ball, whatever, but. I think on the pro level, that's what I mean. The caddies can make some pretty decent money. If you win a golf tournament, you win $2 million, get 10% of that. I mean, you had a pretty good day.
Not
you
bad.
Know what I mean? A pretty
Not
good
bad.
week. It's not easy work that they got to do. Out in the weather, sometimes you just pouring down rain or it's super hot or whatever. But I think at the pro level, they play a pretty big part. Yeah. I mean, if you had everybody in the tournament have a caddy and then one person not have a caddy, just literally carry their own golf bag out there. I think they'd be kind of lost. I mean, the guys do that stuff in their practice rounds, obviously, all the time. But caddying in golf, it's kind of places like you go to Cape Breton and play a Cabot. They have caddies there for you to kind of show you. I've heard that. You kind of show you, and then those guys, I think they kind of show you around the course some too. So like they might tell you, okay, you see that stake there or that tree in the background. If you're right of that tree, you're gonna fall off into the woods. Like so, you got to be left of that. So it's kind of nice to have some. You've got some local caddies at places. They've got that. You might go to Dominican.
Yeah.
And you get there and there's a young kid and he might not even play golf. He just knows, avoid the water that's over that you can't see from here and stuff like that. So there's lots of different variations of what caddies are used for.
Yeah.
Like I said, for me personally, like I just like to stay loose. Like I'll pick a friend or somebody like that who's just kind of I can chit chat, make jokes about and whatever. And it's funny. I'm not allowed to drink now during the tournaments, but I remember playing at Northumberland. My mom was caddying for me, and in the last round, I was playing awful. And after the 9th hole, I went over to the 10th tee. We get there, and we're waiting for the group in front of us to kind of clear out. And Mom was like, she put the bag down. She's like, I gotta run to the bathroom. And And so she runs off to the bathroom, and which is pretty standard for her. She'll kind of just after 9 holes, she'll run to the washroom, whatever, and then she comes back. She had 3 Coors Light for me on the number 10 tee box that she had picked up at the canteen on the way back. So she was kind of like knowing that I wasn't going very good, and I was maybe getting a little bit frustrated, whatever. And she's like, "I'm gonna get him a couple beer." So it was funny. I remember like absolutely crushing one on the tee.
Yeah.
And I think I ended up playing that back 9, maybe like even par or something. I had done fairly poorly on the front 9, but not like it was the magical juice. I don't want to say that it was like it had completely fixed me up. But it's like those are the types of things that's kind of cool having my mom come around for. It's just
I love that.
Kind of those quick those little pick me ups, or she'll just say some weird shit. She's like, she just come up to me and like elbow me in the ribs, like, "The fuck did you do that for?" Like, I obviously didn't mean to, Mom, but like she knows kind of the time to kind of just give me a jab and just kind of snap out of whatever funk I might be in and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool.
I feel like the common thread here is just having someone that allows you to stay calm.
Yeah, and I think you can find that probably when you're playing partners too, right? Like, they're not carrying your bag and stuff like that or whatever, or giving you pointers, but I think guys will probably agree. For people like me, anyways, I like to have a good time when I play, no matter if I'm playing for money, if I'm playing just by myself, whatever. I like to be able to kind of just, or in competition or whatever. But I just like to enjoy myself on the golf course. So it's always good if you can have guys. Sometimes you play with guys you never met before, but they're good people and they're fun to be with. And sometimes there's people kind of pick their own groups. Like every Sunday morning, I play with like the same guys every time. It's because they're guys I enjoy being around, and we normally have a half decent time when we play. So that makes golfing feel a little bit easier too, right? If you go out there and you get out there and there's some jerk you're playing with that you can't stand, it's probably going to kind of come out in your game a little bit. It's
a big energy sport, big vibe sport. Like, if you're with a foursome and you're with 3 group of guys that are just all positive, happy to be there, ready to play some golf, it could be the best 4 hours of your life. But if you have that one rotten apple there, it can definitely ruin the 4 hours of your life. It's not the best.
Yeah.
Back to the caddy thing really quick. I could listen to Steve Williams talk all day.
Oh yeah.
I'm a big YouTube fan of that guy. His interviews and some of the things he says about Tiger and the tournaments that he's been on, and in the situations that he's been in with Tiger, and how he's gotten out of them. I could listen to that guy talk all day, and I don't know if it's his Australian accent or what it is, or not New Zealand accent. Sorry.
Yeah, he draws you in.
And there's just something about that guy when he talks about sports that just kind of hypnotizes you, and it's unbelievable.
It's an interesting. Caddies are just such an interesting dynamic because like they don't exist anywhere else. They're not a coach. They're not on the in golf you've got coaches, you've got swing coaches, and you've got training coaches and stuff like that. They're almost they're almost part of the team. You know what I mean? It's an individual sport, but they're part of your team. They're almost like they might be the backup goalie. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
that's a good.
Way,
I like that.
Where they're there to like you go and you do a warm up. The backup goalie's just they're taking shots. They're not playing tonight unless the other guy plays awful. But they go into the game not knowing they're not going to play, but they're there to give you some warm up shots, right? They're there for you to kind of be ready, and that's I guess that's what kind of caddies are in a way kind of there for. But they don't really. There's no other sport where you've got somebody like that kind of just follows you around and helps as much as they can. It's. I don't want to say that they're like a butler or something like that. They're not gonna just like cater to your every last little need. I mean, there's a lot you can unzip your own pouch and get your Nutri-Grain bar out of the bag. I mean, he doesn't have to do that stuff for you, but it's. I mean, there's lots of guys who are probably. I mean, it'd be kind of interesting to hear how many times there's guys who would have been totally lost without a decision a caddy made. It'd be kind of cool to kind of almost see like compilation, because I'm sure it exists. You listen to. Maybe that crazy chip that Tiger holed on number 16 at Augusta that hung on the lip for seemed like forever. Maybe he wanted to play that a totally different way, but Stevie was like, "No, you know what? Like, what do you think about playing it over high over here and just letting it fall down?" And being like, "Okay, yeah." And he goes and holds the shot. I mean, it'd be kind of cool to hear that, where a pro who's making millions would have done something totally different, but a caddy's just kind of like, "You know what? I got a different idea, and let me see, what do you think about it?" And see how many times that I'm sure there's times they have suggestions that kind of just like, "No, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't want to do that."
Yeah.
But times
it's nice to have a second opinion.
That's it, yeah. To have, and I think that's probably the most valuable thing that they give sometimes is just that second opinion, where you're just kind of just like anything, you might just not think of doing something that way.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you might be building something, and they just like have somebody else like, "Yeah, but what if you did this?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, if I did do that, it would maybe be a little bit easier, or it would, be a different outcome or whatever." So it's probably, I think that's probably one thing that Yeah, it's a good way to put it. The second opinion on you're the only person. Once you pull the trigger, you're the only person you can blame.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of have that different opinion on how you're going to do something.
I could watch that Tygo versus Rocco documentary 10 more times. I've probably watched it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I've probably watched it close to 6-7 times in the past 2 months.
Really?
Obsessed with it because they paint a picture. It's almost like the Toronto media, how every time Toronto plays, they paint a story and how something's gonna happen. I don't know, but just for that underdog versus Tiger, it was I don't know. It captured me.
Yeah.
I find it's easy to capture a story within golf. You know, it's about the person, what their background is like. And I guess just how they're playing the field that day. And that day with Tiger versus Rocco, I guess that whole week, just really cool.
Yeah,
really cool.
Well, there's so much availability to find out about people too. So there's always a story of some sort that you can find. Like you said, every week there's a golf tournament. You can always find a story of some sort. So like I said, that Mike Fasaki guy who got money from Justin Thomas, like that's pretty cool. And some people don't like that because there's lots of other people who are trying to make it who are in the same situation as this guy. But he's a good guy who made an impression on a pro who wanted to give him some money to help him out. But there's always a story you can find, whether it be a good story, like kind of a rivalry thing, or like right now, just like Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka hate each other.
Yeah, I love it.
Like everybody's just waiting for those two guys to be paired up together at some point because, I think the people who make the tee times for the PGA Tour probably want to avoid that. So they only make the tee times for the first 2 rounds, and other than that, it's just chance. Right, so they make threesomes for Thursday, Friday, and then if 2 guys are in the lead at 10 under par after 2 days, they're playing together on Saturday.
So it could happen.
Yeah, so it could happen, and that is going to be TV. That's going to be good TV. It's going to be a story. No matter what way it goes, it's going to be amazing. Whether one guy shoots 60 and the other guy shoots 80, whether they get in a fist fight and it's like Bob Barker beating up Happy Gilmore again.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. So there's definitely stories to. Every week you can find something. And I think there's, like I said, there's availability to find something on. All these guys are so available. Their lives, you can find out about their lives, where they're from.
Yeah.
There's lots of guys. I mean, like Justin Thomas's dad is his swing caddy. So swing coach. So when he goes and wins a tournament and he's swinging it really well, and he led the tournament in strokes gained off the tee, which I still don't know how to calculate necessarily, but how much better you were at that against the field. But then you go to find out that his dad was the one who taught him everything he knows about that. It's just kind of, there's good things to find, all the time. There's some good stories in golf, man, all the time.
I love it, man. We'll have to get out for a round this year. We're coming up on an hour here.
Oh, really? Jesus Christ.
But no, we'll definitely have to get out for sure.
Yeah. Now we can actually move around a little bit on the.
Have you been to Osprey before?
I have been. I haven't been in a few years, but I would.
Okay. We have a corporate membership there, so we have
Sick.
we got a bunch of rounds there.
Yeah.
So come out. We'll have to get around
for sure. Because I know talking to because talking to Keel, I mean obviously his family's involved with Osprey, so I would definitely And I've always liked playing. It's not far away; it's an hour away, so it's not. It's not.
It depends who's in front of you. You can get there in 45 minutes if people are going like nice, a good speed on the highway.
Yeah.
You get there quickly. But
Yeah.
we'll figure something out. We'll have some fun. This episode's actually coming out tomorrow, so that means the Habs and Leafs game will be over. So do you want to make your prediction now?
Ooh, okay. So. It's funny because you
got to remember though, people are going to be listening to this and know the result.
Oh,
okay.
that's. Oh, I guess yeah. Okay, so they're going. That's fine.
So everyone knows already.
That's fine.
You got to.
But okay, so I'm a Blackhawks fan, so this is pretty. It's easy for me to make a neutral prediction. I mean, I think Toronto's easily the better roster. There's way more pressure on Toronto. Montreal's got nothing to lose. I think the catalyst in the game might be Carey Price. And my prediction is that Montreal is going to. I don't know what the score will be. I think Montreal might shut out Toronto. I think I'd like to see Toronto move on. I'd like Toronto to shed that choker,
the curse.
Yeah, I'd like to see them move on. I really would, and because I mean, I think if they got healthy, I mean, they're missing a few bodies right now. If they get healthy, I think they could be. Yeah, and Johnny T, I don't know when he's going to be back in. I mean, he was skating around, which is crazy to see.
He's not playing.
But to see him get buckled like that and to see him skating, I was amazed that he was even on skates. But if they get healthy again, I mean, I don't know. Who knows? I mean, it's hockey. You could get if Campbell gets hot in net, or I don't know if they turn to Anderson. I'd like to see Toronto move on, but I just have a feeling. I just got this strange feeling that Carey Price is going to turn into like 2016 Carey Price and just be sick.
You have history. You're thinking of history because Toronto, at least I don't, in the past 10 years, they haven't gone past the first round. I don't think.
I saw a thing today. They're 7-1 in Game 7s at home in their history.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 7-1 at home. The only time they lost was 1993 to the LA Kings.
Oh,
I've read it once. I don't know how the hell I remember that, but so history's on their side
All right.
a little bit.
All right.
So-
I'm going Montreal 3-2.
Okay, I'm thinking in my head. I didn't want to put a score. I'm putting 3-0 on the score.
3-0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely going to be an empty netter on there. But I'm putting my money on Carey Price, and I can't wait for Toronto to come out and score 35 seconds in and just kill my prediction. But
no, because you said 3-0.
yeah, I'm going 3-0. I'm going the shutout. Like I'm
All right.
not going to put any money on it. I'll definitely put my mouth on it. I'm just saying 3-0.
All right, Lenny, you're the man. Thank you for coming out. I
Yeah, man.
appreciate it. Thank you.
All right,
We will have
thanks
to get
for
it.
the
We are
invite.
going to get out to
Yes,
Osprey.
we'll get down to Osprey for sure.
Everyone listening to the podcast, thank you very much for tuning in. As we did this podcast, and I'm pretty sure 20 minutes before the podcast started, things started to open up. So we're excited to have more guests back into the studio. That's all I got to say. Thank
I
you
guess
very
we
much.
get some. You'll be able to do a little bit of travel now, so we can get down to Osprey without feeling like we're breaking the rules.
Well, yeah, exactly. We're going to be doing a lot more stuff now. So things have opened up, and I don't want to jump conclusions. We're happy. We're healthy. We're having fun, and go Montreal. Here we go. We're out. Peace.
You're not a Habs fan, are you?